Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all, to episode 450 of the Molehill Mountain Podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and I've been thinking about slasher movies. I don't know why that's been on my mind today, but I had a thought drift through my brain pan this afternoon. And that was, you know what? Camp counselors are often on the pointy end of these slasher movies. And probably the crown prince of camp counselor slashers would be Jason Voorhees. But as we've seen in at least one of the Friday the 13th films, and honestly I don't remember which one it is, Jason doesn't seem to give a damn about the children at the camp that the camp counselors are counseling, right? That's one of the things that's usually, understandably, missing from these movies is this is a summer camp with camp counselors. The counselors aren't camping, they're employees of a camp for children. One of the Friday the 13th films has a scene in which Jason walks into a cabin full of young children. And, there's one adorable little girl who's like laying in bed. And Jason, it's like, oh God, now I was having fun because Friday the 13th, but is he going to bloodily stab to death a 12-year-old kid? No, he doesn't really seem to care. They actually did that with Michael Myers, too, in one of the more recent Halloween films. Myers walks in. I think it might be just the third movie called Halloween, not the one from, what was it, 78? Not the Rob Zombie remake, the third one that they did in 2018 or somewhere around there. There's a long sequence where he wanders through the neighborhood just walking into people's houses and stabbing them. And there's one scene where he walks into a house and there's a baby in a crib and he walks by and you're like, oh dear, is he gonna stabby the baby? And he looks in the crib and just keeps walking. He's like, nah, just doesn't seem interested. So a lot of these slashers usually are, not exclusively, but usually are like, I've got an age limit. They've got to be at least 14, 15 for me to get all stabby. So, usually films like Friday the 13th get around this by not having the children at the camp yet. Usually it's something like the counselors arrive at the camp to stow their gear, clean the place up, set it up for the kids who are arriving in next week or whatever, right? So my thought was, what if we have a movie that's a spam in a cabin, all the camp counselors are running away from some woodland slasher. Not necessarily Friday the 13th, but of that ilk. So we have a summer camp that is currently open for business. There's 10 camp counselors and 50 or 60 kids, ranging from 10 to 12 or so, right? So we open our movie, and the first 20 or so minutes of the movie is our slasher just killing all the camp counselors. That night, one kid went missing 2 nights ago, another one went missing last night, and now basically all of them have been gone missing the rest of the night. We're down to the final girl, and the slasher gets the final girl. In this one, the slasher wins. Got them all. Perfect score. Bowled a 300. Batted 1,000. Good job. Didn't let a single one get away. No one got away. No one called the cops. But we're only 20 minutes into our movie now, and we've still got 50 kids hanging around. So the movie now is we've got a couple of dozen small children stuck at a camp out in the mountains or the woods or somewhere, and they've got to survive by themselves until the bus comes next week to pick them up and take them home. No one knows anything bad happened. No one called the cops. No one sent up a distress flare. All the as far as anyone else knows, it's just camp. There's another 4 or 5 days of camp or whatever. The bus will go pick them up next week. Can the kids survive? How can they survive? Is the slasher still in the area? Is it a danger? Do the kids have to work around the slasher in any way? Does the slasher live nearby in another cabin or a cave or a house? And do the kids need to sneak into that lair to get something, to phone home or get canned food? Our not Voorhees has the only can opener. you know the chef was on the chopping block and he had the can opener on him, and they've got all this canned food, but they can't get into the can because the can opener is on the corpse, and they can't just smack it open with a butcher knife, and they're not allowed knives or Swiss Army knives of their own. I don't know. Is that a movie? It could be interesting. It's just the dumb stuff that floats through my thoughts throughout the day. Now, if you were going to do that movie, I would say you're probably going to want to do it animated, because I don't think you want to try and wring any tension out of a film that is fronted by a large cast of 12-year-old actors. Because you might have a few standouts, but they're probably mostly going to be bad, right? Just from a performance standpoint. So maybe doing an animated film would be, although good luck in American Hollywood getting producers to sign off and fund a R-rated bloody animated feature about a bunch of kids trying to survive living next to a slasher for a week as they work around the decomposing, eviscerated corpses of the camp counselors. I don't know, I'm kind of thinking something along the lines of The Promised Neverland or something, at least the first season. I hear the second season is so bad that it retroactively destroys the first season, any enjoyment you had of the first season. So I've actually not watched the second season, but I saw the first season. I thought it was quite good. Anyway, they made a Crystal Lake television show, which premieres on Peacock, I think, one of the streaming services this October. So maybe that'll be fun, because that's just what we need, is the Voorhees prequel, the backstory, because that's certainly the interesting bit. Basically the offhanded Nancy Palmer's Nancy Palmer, who played Mrs. Voorhees in the first do I have that right? Oh, that's gonna bother me. I have to look it up now. Friday the 13th. Betsy Palmer. I was close. What's funny is, as you might imagine, hang on a sec, gotta see if that's important. Probably not, but no, it's not. It's spam. Report junk. Delete and report junk. There we go. All right. The first movie I ever saw Betsy Palmer in, as you might expect, was Friday the 13th, which came out in 1980, I think, the year I was born. And by that time, Palmer's career, um, she was, she was a working actor throughout a good chunk of, the 40s and 50s. And by the time we got into the 60s and 70s, she was doing she was known. She was still in some stuff, but she'd be on like the Match Game and stuff like that. Um, I remember, I think it was a rerun of some game show like that. I don't think it was the Match Game. It was something similar though, from the 1960s. And I was like, I know her. Who is that? And because it was a rerun, I was probably just flipping channels back in the day when channel surfing was actually a thing. And I was like, I've seen her somewhere. Who is this person? And then they mentioned her, Betsy, and it's like, Betsy, that's Mrs. Voorhees. She's so young. You know, um, it's kind of funny. I'm sure this exists for all ages, but there are a lot of performing artists, actors, musicians, and stuff that were very adult when I first um, came across them. Like, for example, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. They were doing the Grumpy Old Men movies when I was just heading into my teenage years, you know? Um, and so so when I got more into film and as film became more available for me to see, I'd start watching movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s, and I'd start to see young versions of like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau and some of the other some of these other actors that I'd seen in their later years, and I'd be like, oh my god, they're babies, they're human beings who started as babies and then got older like every other human. I don't know why it's so weird to when you see it. It's like, oh my god, it's a young person I've ever known as old. I suppose that's kind of a consistent thing with like even your own grandparents. Most people's grandparents are, when they first know them, are well into their adulthood. So when you're a teenager and you're looking through photo albums and you see pictures of your grandparents as teenagers in the 1940s, it's like, oh my gosh, that's grandma and grandpa as children. That's like their high school yearbook photo, or the picture they took at prom. It's like, I've always seen you as a wrinkly old person. How weird to think that you were a child once. I'm not sure why that is so fascinating, but I think that's a that does hit a lot of people in that way. So anyway, would the children be safe? Is the killer truly not interested in them all? Does it have a moral line that's not going to cross? Who knows? I mean, the Prom Street. No, that's not right. Fear Street. There was a Fear Street prom queen, I think. Fear Street, the set when they did the trilogy several years ago, which I thought was pretty good. The second one, which was in the 70s and did a kind of a Friday the 13th, kids in the cabin in the woods camp. you know, all the young kids got slaughtered too, which it was off camera, but still, it's like, heck, oh, golly gosh, didn't expect that to happen. Heck. Um, anyway, that's what I was thinking about. Just young children being slaughtered in horror movies. Jared says, speaking of high school, just went to my 10th anniversary. Oh, okay. I didn't go to any of my high school anniversaries. I don't think I was invited. I don't I don't know if my high school had anniversaries. Well, to be fair, by the time my high school's first anniversary rolled around, I was no longer in that state. So I'd moved to California by then. So my 10-year anniversary would have been 2008, and I'd been in California for 3 years by then. So maybe they didn't have a forwarding address. I wouldn't have gone anyway. Maybe I was invited and I just didn't go and forgot. I don't know. I didn't care. I didn't like high school. I have no affinity for it or nearly anyone I went to high school with. So anyway, I hope you had fun. Definitely no for the children in slasher movies. Yep. Hello, Chaos. And Chaos getting his extra life donation in super duper early. So we've already got a extra life donation. Also, I mentioned this somewhere. I don't remember if I did on social media, but as most of you may know or don't know, anyway, I all of my YouTube ad revenue goes to Extra Life. And the Eurovision video I did a couple of weeks ago has earned almost $45 in ad revenue by itself. So very cool that. Um, by comparison, the last movie mandates podcast I did, which I uploaded on Wednesday, that so far has earned 15 cents. So, um, last week, I believe the last podcast I did, I had made an offhanded remark. I think I was talking about Plague Tale or another video game. And I had said something along the lines of, I really liked this game. I don't know if it would make my list of top 100 games ever, but it is really good. I quite liked it. And then someone in the chat said, you should do that as a video. And I thought, that's a lot of work. And I'm very verbose. You know, me talking about 100 games in one video would probably be about 7.5 hours long. So I definitely have to break that up somehow. So I was like, but it could be interesting, could be fun. Well, I'm not committing to doing that project, but I have spent the last week making a list. And I'm up to, I think, about 80 games so far. And whether if I ultimately don't do some type of video series, I'll dedicate one or more podcasts to the entries on the list. So you'll hear about it one way or another. But I've been having a really good time brainstorming and reminiscing and building this list. And what it is evolving into is less of 100 best video games or even my top 100 favorite video games, and more 100 video games worth experiencing. Jared says, if you wait a month or two, I will ask for the vid. I am so... I'm looking at the games. What I'm getting at is experiences. I have games on this list that are not my favorite games. Games I didn't even really care for that much. But there's at least one thing about the experience of playing it that I think is notable for one reason or another. For example, I have a couple specifically arcade games on my list, and it's kind of funny because some of the experiences probably are not able to be experienced anymore, right? Um, like, I don't know, like, if I say, hey, I really think you should play Lethal Enforcers, the arcade version, because there's just, light gun games, there's something about the experience of holding the pink or blue plastic gun and going pew 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 at the characters on the screen. That's very different from the home console version, where you had to move the cursor around the screen, uh, pardon me, with the D-pad. Ooh, show and tell. Hang on a second. As an example, this is T2, the arcade game for the Super NES. Um, in the arcade, this had a big plastic gun that you moved around and you shot the Terminator endoskeletons as they marched along the screen, and you point and shoot, right? On the Super NES, I don't know, maybe this did work with the Super Scope. Yes, it actually did. So you could have used the Super Scope. So maybe not the best example. Oh shit! You could also use the Super NES mouse, which came with Mario Paint. Okay, so this is not the greatest example I could have used, but the way it works with the Super NES controller is you're moving the cursor around the screen with the D-pad. And while T2, the arcade game for the Super NES, and T2, the arcade game on an actual arcade unit, is for the most part the same game, the experience of playing it is very different. I've talked lots about Zombie U for the Wii U. Um, and that game was, and I've often cited it as the only game for the Wii U that makes good use of the touchscreen on the controller. That makes use of the touch, that incorporates the controller touchscreen in a way that's integral to the experience of the game, right? It's not just used for a menu or a map, which is fine, even advantageous, but not really integral to the game. You can just hit pause and bring up a damn map. It's essentially the same thing. Zombie U was ported to the, I think the, 360 and PS3, maybe the Xbox One and PS4. I don't remember. I think it was just called Zombie. So it's perfectly playable without the touchscreen on the Wii U gamepad, but it's a different experience. And a lot of the entries on my list are less about, is this a really good game? Many of them are really good games, but a lot of the experiences, actually I can think of one that's definitely not a good game. And that's almost why it's on the list. It's actually, I talked about this on social media. So far, at least, there are 0 multiplayer games on the list. Which I don't like multiplayer games. I don't play them, so, that's not terribly surprising. That's probably not going to change. But there is one game on the list that is a single-player game, but the experience that I would talk about is playing this single-player game with another person. Because by yourself, the game's stupid. It's just not a good game. It's actually really boring. But if you've got a friend with you, this game transforms into a magical experience. Particularly if you're both witty and can MST3K your way through the game. With another person who you share a sense of humor with, this game, still a bad game, but with another person, it is hilarious. Kind of like how a lot of people genuinely enjoy watching bad movies. Most people I know who genuinely enjoy bad movies usually like watching them with friends. I don't know too many who are just like, oh, I just watch them by myself. I get a kick out of it. Usually they're sharing it with another person. There's at least one game on my list that's I don't think is a good game, but I think experiencing that bad game with another person is definitely one of the top 100 video game experiences worth having. So I'm genuinely kind of excited about this list. And I realize that most of the entries on this list, each one comes with a story, right? Um, and I couldn't keep the video to like an hour by only devoting 30 seconds. Like each game is going to be at least 4 or 5 minutes of me blabbering about something, which means that I may want to do something similar to what I did with the Gem the Holograms videos I did years back, and that's do one video per game. So it might be 100 short videos rather than like, I don't know, 20 videos that have 5 games apiece, 20-minute videos that each cover 5 games. I don't know, undecided, but I am having fun curating this list, and whether I share it in video form or on a forthcoming podcast, I'm excited to share some of these stories with y'all. You know, I don't have the Super Scope, but I do have the mouse because I have Mario Paint. Um, I'm pretty sure I've never actually tried playing this sucker with the mouse. Pretty sure I have the mouse. I know I've got Mario Paint. I better have the damn mouse. That game's kind of impossible to play without the mouse. I'd have to go check, but I know where this is sitting on my shelf, so I could just go grab this real quick. I'm not gonna go into my room and go digging through my drawers looking for the Super NES hardware. Do I have my Super NES out here? Yeah, I do have my Super NES out here. Because I'm not sure if my because I'm not sure. Yep, here's the Super NES. I'm not sure if because I know the controllers are in there. But I'm not sure if the mouse would be in there or if it would be in my hardware drawer in my bedroom. I have only one of my dresser drawers has clothing in it. That's the sock and underwear drawer. I can fill up one drawer with socks and underwears, but not four. I hang up all my shirts and pants and stuff. The t-shirts hung up. The button-up shirts hung up. Pants hung up. Cause I can't fold worth a damn. I do fold bed sheets, but if hanging up bed sheets were actually feasible, I'd probably do it that way. Particularly fitted sheets, because man. See, I'm having traumatic flashbacks of every time I try to fold a fitted sheet by myself. That's really the only advantage. That's the only reason anyone should ever live with another person, like, roommates, is because it does make fitted sheets easier to fold. Those are really tough by yourself. That's like the one drawback to living by yourself, to being a single occupant. Fitted sheets hard to fold. Although you could get around that. You could get around that by never changing your bed sheets, but that's disgusting, so maybe don't do that. Or you could, every time you wash your sheets, just put them right back, wash them, strip your bed, wash them, and then put them right back on your bed. You only have one sheet set. Because you only have one bed, right? Ha! That way, you never have to worry about folding those dastardly fitted sheets. Or don't use fitted sheets. I tell you, it's big fitted sheet. We don't need fitted sheets. Square sheets are fine. You can just tuck them under the edge of the mattress. It's big elastic trying screwing us all with the fitted sheets. Ah, hard to cook for one. That you know what Chaos says, limit yourself to 60 or 90 seconds per game. I don't know if you've noticed. I am very verbose. Um Jared says cooking's another thing, hard to cook for one. Okay, that is true. Um most particularly if you buy stuff that comes in packaging and boxes and cans and stuff, um it's those are packaged with the assumption that you've got at least one other person eating, right? um it's difficult, not impossible, but it is difficult to portion out uh meals for one person because that's generally not how they're sold. So, uh, Kaz says that's what I have to do. Just wash and put them right back on. Yep, yep. I do have more than one sheet set, but I will admit sometimes I strip the sheets, I do my laundry, and they just go right back on the bed. I don't like redress my bed with the other sheet sets before while the laundry is running. Eh, eyelash. Gracious. Yeah, good placement. Right near the eyeball, right where you need to. I mean, they do. Eyelashes are nice because they help keep stuff out of your eyeballs. Sometimes I guess it's probably. I mean, I'd rather have eyelashes than not have eyelashes, aesthetics aside. I think they do enough of a good job of keeping crap out of my eyeballs that I can put up with a stray lash poking me right in the eyeball every once in a while. So, as y'all often do, there have been a couple of anime recommendations, and I have checked them out, and I will now regale you with what I think of them thus far. The first one is, I have no idea how to pronounce it because the word, so far as I'm aware, is not actually used in the show anywhere. Jaadugar, a witch in Mongolia. And I remember whoever recommended this. I remember it being recommended because I was like, oh, look, another anime with witch in the title. And because I had pointed out that the last 3 years, there have been a lot of shows with witch in the title. What's interesting about this show is it has nothing to do with witches. There's no witches unless I'm like 7 or 8 episodes in at this point. I don't know how long this show is, but it doesn't look like there's going to be witches showing up anywhere. There's no witches. I don't know why it's called A Witch in Mongolia. It is in Mongolia, so it's half right. But I mean, it's not even like a when you call someone a witch as like a unseemly, mean, and cruel person. Oh, you witch! It's not even. It doesn't seem to be used like that. I mean that has no bearing on what I think of the show itself. I just thought it was kind of weird that it's called A Witch in Mongolia. I'm I had to look up see what the original title is. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, and the American localizer said, you know what's popular? Shows with witch in the title. Let's call it A Witch in Mongolia. There's no witch in the show. That doesn't matter. I have a spreadsheet here that shows views go up when witch is in the title, so we're gonna call it that. I don't know. Anyway, lovely, unique art style. It's a bit on the chibi side, but not super deformed. Just overtly cartoony in its character proportions to an extent that sometimes makes it a little difficult to estimate a character's age. Though 7 or 8 episodes in, that hasn't been a problem. What I do find really interesting about the show is it's thus far taken place over this young woman's life from about 6 years old to she's got to be pushing 30 at this point. I think she's in her late 20s now. And she looks pretty much the same, right? These characters don't really. I'm glad they keep putting up subtitles and it's like, what year are we at? Because none of these characters seem to be really aging particularly significantly. Like, the different positions they occupy at different points in their lives is discerned more on their how they dress and who they are with more than what they look like. Like, if you just popped in a random episode, you'd only be able to tell where in this character's life she is based on what she's, if you're familiar with the show, based on what she's wearing and whose company she's in, rather than what she physically looks like, because she pretty much has looked the same since she was 6 years old. So this is it's a revenge tale. So she is a Persian slave who has her home has been raided by the Mongols, and she's been kidnapped into, so she's someone else's slave now. But she really liked the people who owned her. They were nice to her. So at its base, we have a woman who existed with her home, her family, who was taken away. Everyone, her life and her friends and everyone she knew were taken away from her. They're all dead. And now she is starting a new life with the people who have forcibly removed her from the old one. Well, she ain't having that. So she will have her revenge. She's not sure exactly how. And it's been 20 years. This is kind of a Count of Monte Cristo kind of, this is a lifelong endeavor kind of a thing. But it's an enjoyable show so far. So thank you whoever recommended it. I'm really quite enjoying it so far. It's actually interesting because I'm watching another anime that's similar in its construction, and what the hell is it called? It's called something like a really pissed off lady's guide to getting revenge on the people who wronged you, or something like that. Let me a livid lady's guide to getting even. How I crushed my homeland with my mighty grimoires. Oh, anime, you and your anime is like back of the box. We don't have a back of the box. Anything you would put on the back. You see, if I looked at T2, the arcade game, and I was like, oh, what's this about? I would read the back of the box and say, the #1 arcade shooter, why is shooter in quotes? The #1 arcade shooter of all time explodes onto Super NES. You are a T-800 Terminator armed with rapid-fire machine guns, plasma pulse rifles, shotguns, guided missiles, and M79 grenade launchers. Blast armies of endoskeletons. Destroy missile-firing HKs. Terminate the liquid metal T-1000. Or be terminated. You see, with anime, that would be the fucking title. So, apparently they just don't have a back of the box or back of the book or anything. So they just put all that in the title. Crunchyroll, to its credit, um, one positive thing we could credit Crunchyroll for is at one point, as with many streaming services, they have different sections where they curate, romances that make you blush, and then they just populate it with a curated selection of gooey romances, right? And like action with robots, and they'll stick Gundam and Gunbuster and Evangelion and all the mecha anime in there, and so on and so forth, right? They had a category that was like anime with stupidly long titles that describe the entire plot so you don't actually have to watch the anime. And the section title was so goddamn long it didn't even fit on screen. And I'm like, okay, that's actually really funny. I have an issue with a lot of the things that Crunchyroll does, although technically I guess it's Sony. But I got a kick out of that. Anyway, A Livid Lady's Guide to whatever the rest of that is a show about a woman who was the Jesus, it's pretty much the same setup as what the hell was that one from last season about the gal who just punches everything? May I Ask for One More Thing, I think was the localized title. Um, which was about a lady who was affianced to some twerp of a prince who fell for the younger model and banished her from the kingdom, and so she punched him in the goddamn face and then said, that feels good. I'm just gonna go across the kingdom and punch everyone who annoys me. It's was actually a very cathartic show. This one, Livid Lady's Guide, pretty much has the same setup. She's the fiance of some twerp of a kingdom's prince. He falls in love with the younger model, and he says, "Piss off, lady," and throws her in the dungeon. And she's like, "Oh no, you did not. I am going to escape this dungeon," and she does. "And I'm going to find sanctuary in the nearby empire, and I am going to plot the destruction of you, your family, everyone you know, and the entire population of your kingdom." This one's interesting because in Jaadugar, the Mongolia one, so far our hero is not, she hasn't murdered anybody. It's not really clear exactly what she's going to do or how far she's going to go. One of her goals really seems to be like, because they raided uh her, the family that owned her raided their library and stole their books. One of her goals at least seems to be get that back, where the Livid Lady is says, "I have issues with everything Sony does now," and rightfully so. um Sony is like, oh, you think EA was bad? They worst company in America 2 years running? Pfft, that was a decade or so ago. Watch this. We will make you hate us. We will become the villain. We will make Microsoft look not bad. Anyway, but the Livid Lady, she will murder you. And she will murder the innocent people around you. It's, you get to a point where like, oh heavens, this show is that's unsettling for as cute as this show typically presents itself. So it is an interesting juxtaposition. It's also interesting to see um how we see a lot of overlapping setups and themes um hit multiple shows per season. Um Anyway, so I'm very much enjoying Jaadugar so far. And I'm actually enjoying Livid Lady too. It's that one's I think Jaadugar is a lot more narratively satisfying. Livid Lady I find more challenging in the sense that the juxtaposition between the cute presentation and our hero slicing people in half. It's like, she seems sweet on the outside, but oh no, she's holding a grudge, a violent, bloody grudge. She will kill you. And at this point, I'm like, oh, is she is she gonna like is she gonna do a genocide? you know, I I don't know if I'm gonna be in this woman's corner for the entire show. I'm happy to be like, oh, you were wrong, but that's a bit far. Particularly the ending of the last episode. That was like, oh, that's horrific. Like the Crypt Keeper would have watched this and went, Jesus Christ, lady, what the fuck? Like, holy damn. You know, that's cold. I've I've seen all of the episodes of the HBO run of Tales from the Crypt. I believe I'm correct in that the Crypt Keeper was never like caught on the back foot, was like never came out in the closing segment going, "Oh, man, just huh. Yeah. Huh. Usually I do a silly pun and I do a high-pitched cackle, but I think I'm just gonna go have a beer and go to bed, I mean, even MST3K, I forget which movie it was, but there's one episode of MST3K where Dr. Forrester, I think it was Forrester, and Frank are like, Joel, we overstepped. I'm sorry. This was uncalled for. This movie is just, that was mean, and we're sorry. I forget what movie that is, but that happened at least once in MST3K. I don't think the Crypt Keeper was ever bothered by any of the episodes. Jared says you may like Tomb Raider King if you're looking for more stuff. It's more of a turn your brain off show. I've seen that one floating around because I keep seeing Tomb Raider. I'm like, oh, did they make? Because I know they have the show on Netflix, and I watched the first episode and went, I never bothered to follow up on it. And then I'm like on Crunchyroll or something, I see Tomb Raider. I'm like, oh, they made an anime Tomb Raider. Oh, Tomb Raider King. Oh, that's a totally different thing. Okay. Another one that was recommended to me of late is Deamons of the Shadow Realm, which is a lot more lighthearted than how I delivered the title. Which is an interesting show and one I've been enjoying so far. I'm about 10-ish episodes in. This show is interesting in multiple regards, but the regard I want to speak on specifically is I think the show made a major misstep very early on, and it feels, with that, only having seen the first 10 episodes, it might come, once I finish it out, I might go, oh, that was intentional for this specific reason. It feels like something that happens, I think, in the first episode, was a misstep, at least in how it was presented and how it was dealt with by the characters in the show. And I'll get more specific here in a second. Such that it feels, although this is only my perception, that the show noticed it roundabouts episode 6 or 7 and went, oh, yeah, gonna have to course correct. So the show starts out, presents itself with a very, very rural village, probably existing in like the 18th century. Although we do find out it's modern times, but it's a very retro village. There's no cars or anything. There's people working in the rice paddies, and you've got homes built out of mud and wood and stuff like that. Nice little provincial community. When all of a sudden, bad guys come and attack. Oh no! One of the bad guys is I don't know, 14-year-old girl who busts onto the scene and looks at a gaggle of farmers who are frightened and confused. At least they appear to be. Just regular, innocent people just going about their day, playing in their, well, working in the rice paddy, drying their clothes, walking their children to and fro, whatever. When these murdering raiders show up with magic powers. And this little 13, 14-year-old girl has some kind of, at least from their perception, some type of like telekinetic power to look at someone and close their hand and just eviscerate them where they stand. She's doing a hand gesture and saying gobble, and some invisible entity seems to be biting these people in half. And she just rocks up on this seemingly presented as innocent community of farmers and just people, and just murders the shit out of all of them. They're not fighting back. They're terrified and confused. And she eviscerates them one by one in front of their crying, screaming children. And then the show presents this character as one of our co-leads who we're supposed to seemingly like and empathize with and be on the side of. And it's like, no. Very no. No, she's an evil little shit and she needs to be stopped. Maybe something later in the show shows that this was justified and these weren't innocent people. Not, but how the show is presented it in episode 1 and never contradicted anything through several episodes, she just seems to be a bloodthirsty, sadistic piece of shit who murdered the hell out of people for no reason. Scared, terrified, innocent people in front of their crying, screaming, permanently traumatized children. So, no, I'm not particularly inclined at this point in the show to be on this character's side. And our main protagonist doesn't really like her, but it doesn't seem to be too terribly bothered by her either. It just feels wrong. It feels false. But roundabouts like episode 6 or 7, they start acknowledging what she did and the ramifications of that, and it feels, not necessarily the case, but it feels like the creative team behind the show, and I would assume it's a manga first, we're like, we're gonna have to not change anything really, but do a little bit of course correction. There's an elephant in this tiny room that we've just not addressed. We're gonna have to be like, yeah, there's okay, it's an elephant. We can all see it. Just want you to know that we know there's an elephant there. Because I know we've been acting for 6 episodes like there's no elephant, and there clearly is. We want you to know that there's an elephant here. Now, keep in mind, I'm only like 10 episodes in. There may be a very good reason it's presented like this, but I found the show compelling enough to keep watching for multiple other reasons. But this was a frustrating point for me because throughout the early episodes, 5, 6, 7 episodes, I was like, is no one going to talk about this? Is this not going to be addressed or reconciled at all ever? Am I supposed to be like it was just a fun action scene that didn't mean anything? I don't know. I found that maddening, really, really frustrating. And it's interesting to see the show begin to address it, though the timing feels late to the point where I perceive it as a bit of a course correction. I don't know if that's actually the case. Again, haven't seen the whole show yet. There may be a very good reason for that particular pacing. And while I do think that's probably just the standout, most interesting part of the show to talk about, overall I'm enjoying the show. I like I think the characters are a lot of fun, and well, I mean, the Gabby can go jump in the lake, sadistic little shit. Uh, I'm sure she has a very tragic background that explains why she is the way she is, and I'm sure all the people up on the mountain were actually really bad guys that deserved it. I'm sure the children who were traumatized, they're probably really shitty children who deserve PTSD. So we'll see how it unfolds. But I'm enjoying the creativity behind the little stands. I don't know if you want to call them that. Well, everyone has their little demon thing that hangs out with them and fights for them. And the designs, the variety and designs of the various little demon sidekicks are a lot of fun. The various fights are engaging and creative and well thought out. So I did find that singular element quite perplexing from a storytelling standpoint. Acknowledging again, I'm only halfway through the show. I'm guessing it's like a 24 episode order. I don't know. Maybe there's 15 seasons. No idea. But yeah, solid so once again, I have been enjoying your recommendations. So thank you all for recommending fun stuff for me to watch. Pac-Man? Do you mean the shorts that are? Oh, do you mean the teeth munchy gobble gobble thing that she has? The little demon thing? Yeah, it's basically Pac-Man. Although it seems to be like I'm getting the sense that like it's the upper jaw and the lower jaw are like individual demons. Like it's two demons that work in tandem to bite. It's a really interesting idea, and it is terrifically horrifying because sometimes she'll lose her temper and she'll like lash out and like grab someone by the face, and you get kind of Attack on Titan vibes where someone finds themselves between the Titan's teeth and the camera lingers there for the few seconds as you watch this person realize that they're about to be crushed between giant molars and there's nothing they can do except that they're going to die in about 1 second. There's a lot of really great stuff in the show. So 20 episodes. Okay, so I'm roundabouts halfway through. So we'll see where this goes. I actually need to pick up re-pick up. Pretty sure this was a Jared recommendation. It was the as the gaming one with the kid with the bird head. What the hell is that called? Hmm. It's the kid who plays the really shitty games, and he's playing the one game where his avatar has the blue bird head hat on that he wears. What the shit is the name of that? Um, you're gonna say it before I think of it. Um, um, it's on its third season now. I watched the first season and I was partway into the second season and I ended Shangri-La, thank you. Damn it. Um I got to the end of an arc and I think I'm like on episode like 27 or something like that. I got to the end of a very specific arc. I'm like, that's a good because I kind of binged it over like a long weekend or something. I'm like, that's a good place to pause, and then I never went back to it because I chased some other shiny thing like I'm wont to do. Shangri-La Frontier. That's it. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, I need to get back to that. I may actually have to just give up on Furrian, the longest journey, because I just don't like the show. And I really want to watch it because it's so popular and I want to know what everyone is at least talking about. And I've been trying to watch this show for years and I've only made it to like episode 10 because I can only stand like a couple of episodes before I'm like, no, I just don't care. I'm not enjoying it. Which is frustrating because I like the themes. Um I like the world design, I like the character design. There's a lot of really clever stuff in it and I'm just not enjoying it like on its face. That's the same thing with Chainsaw Man. I did watch the entire first season of that and I just didn't like it. I liked a lot about it. I love the world and the concept of the demons, or they have a specific name, that are representations of some ubiquitous fear like chainsaws or death or knives or something. Such a cool idea, and there's some really wonderfully inventive action sequences, but I just couldn't stand any of the characters. I'm like, I don't Shinji Denji, something like that. I don't like him. The gal with the horns, Power or something. I don't like her. I don't like anyone in the show. And that is for me. If I don't like your main, they don't have to be good people. I like the first season of Tanya the Evil. Am I going to watch a second? I don't know because it's been 10 years. I don't remember what happened. I think there was like flying at some point or something. Like Tanya the Evil was 10 years ago. I, I mean, I'm glad the second season finally came out, but Jesus Christ. I was just complaining about Blue Eye Samurai hitting its second season in January, which will be, I think, a little over 3 years from the first one. I'm like, I remember I liked the first season, but goddamn, I barely remember the characters. She was revenging for something. Probably someone killed her family. Like I don't remember. Don't remember there was the guy with no hands. I remember him. Um, I think she was on a boat heading for London at the end of the first season. I'm sure there will be a recap. I could read the goddamn Wikipedia page. I'm sure there's plenty of explainers on YouTube that'll recap season one if I'm so inclined. But I do kind of wish that uh show that the streaming model was, I don't know if healthier is the right word, but if it were more feasible for creatives to be able to get their subsequent seasons out in at least a year. Because if it's more than a year, maybe I'm just old. I don't know. Maybe you young pups are a lot better at retaining the details uh of the first season over several years. Or maybe I just watched too much TV and I can't keep all this crap straight because I watch so many movies and shows and um play narrative focused video games like Terminator 2 the arcade game and read books. You know what? Like I have the my books, it's all DVDs and stuff behind me. Video games are over there, but my books are in my bedroom. On my bookshelf is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think I've had that book for like 15 years, and I've been meaning to read it for the entire time I've had it. I actually have the sequel. I not sure where. I don't remember if I bought them together, if I bought them, or if they were present, or whatever. I have The Girl Who Plays with Fire. I think is the second one. I don't have the third one. Um, but I've been meaning to read the damn thing. I saw the movie, or well, not the English remake, the original one. I saw the movie way back when. Didn't really care for it, but I liked a lot about it. I'm like, I should read the book. See how that tracks. And so I have the book, whether I bought it myself or my sister bought it for me. It's been sitting on my shelf for like since 2009 or something. Every couple of weeks I see it sitting on my shelf. I'm like, I should read that. And I never get around. I don't I don't know what it is. For some reason, I just never crack that sucker open. I'm sure we all probably have that one thing that sits on our shelf for years that we're meaning to uh take off the shelf and finally experience. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is one of mine. And it's not like I need to read. It's not something I'm like I feel begrudgingly obligated to do. It's something I genuinely want to do, and I just don't for some reason. I don't know what it is. I just never do. It will probably I will probably shuffle off this mortal coil with those two books sitting on my shelf unread. Oh well. Everyone loves Fury Stark and Fern except me. I find them so boring. The problem is you don't like the part that everyone likes. I I guess. Yeah, it's probably one of those things where it's like the the reason people the reason dog people are dog people and not cat people is like the same reason I'm a cat person and not a dog person. The thing people like about dogs as opposed to cats is exactly why I prefer cats. I saw Apothecary Diaries, another one I think Jared or one of you lovely chat people recommended a couple of years ago. Um, really liked what I watched of Apothecary Diaries, and I saw is that what Diaries? I think so. Um, and I saw that it's starting or announced its third season. I stopped watching that one because it was really good, and I was afraid it was gonna get bad, and I didn't want it to get bad because it was so good. So I stopped watching it, which is like one of the dumbest fucking reasons to stop watching a show. Um, but I was like, oh no, I'm so afraid that this is just going to get bad. So I'm just gonna stop watching it. Kind of like how I'm treating The Promised Neverland. I'm not watching season two, so I will always have the positive uh remembrance and feelings of the first season in my head and not have it sullied by season two, which I here's the thing. Um, I think that's kind of where I'm coming at it from with the Apothecary Diaries. So I guess the moral is make a good show, but don't make it too good because weenies like me might think you can't keep it up for the whole season, and I I can't handle disappointment. So, all right, that is the show for tonight. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me. Hope you had fun. And let's see. Yes, more Cold Steel 3. Where are we in the game? Oh yeah, we're in Orcus Tower, and we've got to go spy on. I think Muse is in the stairwell talking with someone. So we're gonna go eavesdrop. That's what we're doing. I believe that's where we left off. So, all right, more Cold Steel 3 tomorrow. So have a good night, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.